desktop. And then, as we mentioned before, we'll distribute this to everybody first thing tomorrow morning. Welcome back, everybody. I see a lot of people that were here with us earlier this morning and during the networking hour. For those of you who may be tuning in that were not with us earlier or on our Facebook, my name is Caleb, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Events for Startup Junkie Foundation. Startup Junkie is a mission-driven, high-impact organization based in Northwest Arkansas that supports, inspires, and educates entrepreneurs and innovators by providing no-cost one-on-one consulting, events, workshops, programs, events just like this one in our virtual world. Today's presenter, for those who were not with us this morning, is again Martha Londagin. She's an executive business consultant with Startup Junkie Foundation, where she also serves as the capital access manager for the Northwest Arkansas Kiva U.S. Microloan program. She's a former small business banker and attorney, and she is very active with many Northwest Arkansas chambers of commerce and networking groups in the region. So I'm going to turn it over to her to continue some introductions here.
All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. And normally I'm coming to you like I did this morning from 9 to 10. We did our Getting Your Business Idea Off the Ground webinar. I got an emergency phone call from my gentleman that takes care of my lawn that my yard had sprung a leak. So you get to see me from home now. I had to come home and meet a plumber, and we've apparently got a water line leak. So it's taken care of. I'm also all decked out in my Razorback because at 5 o'clock I'm going to head out to go to the Razorback baseball game if it doesn't rain. So lots of ended up crazy goings on today. But I'm so happy to be with you, and we are in this one just going to talk about funding options. Just like this morning when we were doing the taking your business idea to a startup phase, or if you've been doing a home-based business and you're going to the next level, if you want to go from a DBA to an LLC, we're just giving you the kind of general ideas. Every case is very different. I meet with people and they say, I'm ready to open a store. And we talk about all the things that need to be done before one opens a store and realize you're not ready. We need to kind of go do these things first and get this ready. And then some people say, I'm ready to open a second location and I'm just sure I'll get a business loan. I've never needed one before. I need a business loan. And so sometimes it's a really good idea to meet with us and talk like we're going to do in the seminar before you go see a banker. Absolutely 100% sitting down with a small business loan officer like Lance Sexton, who's with Bank OZK. He's on the line with us, is a great idea. But I do want to tell everyone, you can reach out to us at Startup Junkie and book a one-on-one consultation, never a charge. We're funded by the state of Arkansas, Walton Family Foundation, other supporting grant participants to provide that information to you. I was a banker for several years with Lance. He actually trained me on SBA lending. And so unfortunately, Lance can't show you his video. He's at a Bank OZK branch right now that he can't get video access. So I'm going to show you real quick his LinkedIn. And so this is Lance. So when Lance starts talking in a little bit with you about SBA loans, I want you to know what he looks like. He's very active on LinkedIn. So it'd be a great idea if you have a business or you're going to start one to send him maybe a connection request. All right. So I'm now going to pull up our Startup Junkie site just so you know how to connect with us if needed. And you can always go here. And while I'm doing this, if I start talking and y'all can't see on the screen, just holler out at me. You're never going to hurt my feelings. That's not interrupting, that's helping. So this is our Startup Junkie. You can see here my cursor, startupjunkie.org. This is where you go to reach us. You can go to About Our Team and see all our profiles, book appointments with us, depending on what's available. The best thing is to click this yellow button, Meet with Us, and that round robins. It goes to everybody's calendar and finds who has appointments available and gives you the soonest time that's available. For example, right now I'm working on an out-of-town contract in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. We're helping them to build an entrepreneur eco plan. And so I'm not available for the next few weeks. But Morgan, who did our networking event at noon, Taylor, our director, we have other staff members, Jeff and Brett Amorine, they're available for consultation. So that's the place to meet us. Also, lastly, I want you to know if you go to programs, you can see this third tab and go down to events and click that. It shows you all the upcoming trainings we have, always free of charge, all different types of topics. I just did one on LinkedIn for the woman in business. I'm going to do one at the end of April on social media for this HER series. And so I would encourage you to check back and to go and sign up for the one I'm going to do about social media at the end of April. And then the last thing is, if you go down here to the bottom of our page, you'll see this link right here that is goes to our YouTube channel. And I'm going to show you an example of what is on our YouTube channel. All right, so if you go to our Startup Junkie YouTube channel, you end on the home page and it gives you a sampling, but if you click here on videos, this gives you so here already is the one I did this morning. So if you missed the one from 9 to 10, you can go watch that. You can go down, here's the one I did on LinkedIn. We had one on cybersecurity a month ago. You can go watch that one. And here, if you scroll down to the ones where we did them in a studio during COVID, there's the getting your business idea off the ground one I did this morning, and it's a little bit longer. It's like an hour and a half. And then this one we're getting ready to do now. So I just want you to know we always have those options available for everyone, and they're there for you to reach out and get information if you can't always just attend one of our seminars live that we've got going on. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint now and we'll start progressing. And Lance, do you just want to say hi to everybody so they know you're here?
Yeah, it's great to be here today with everybody, and I look forward to telling you or sharing with you some information about SBA loans. And Christina, thank you for the LinkedIn connection request. I've already accepted.
Yay, yes. So I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I think it's a great way to reach out to other business owners and to get the word out about your business and to start seeing yourself as a business owner. So this webinar we're doing now is just about small business loan funding options. So we're going to look at all the options. Lance, I have known for over 30 years. I've known him for about 10 years, but he has been involved with lending, small business loans, and SBA specifically for over 30 years. So he's a great expert for us on this. This series, the HER Entrepreneur Journey for 2021, is sponsored by Bank OZK. Lance does work for Bank OZK, which is a bank that has been in Arkansas since 1903. They have over 250 locations throughout the country. This morning, we had Trish McCollum, who was helping us to learn about the bank checking accounts and all the services to help you with your POS systems and all your deposits and all of that. And she's out at the Bank OZK branch on Weddington Drive in Fayetteville. So above all, we encourage our clients at Startup Junkie to connect with a true community bank. And Bank OZK is a large regional bank, but it is a true local. I know people at the Bank OZK in Siloam, in Fayetteville. I know Lance. I know Odwin Vaughn, who is its market president, and they're real people here to help you. And they have a great heart for and belief in women owning businesses in Arkansas. In 2017, the state of Arkansas reclassified minority businesses to include women by order of the governor, because only 25% of businesses in Arkansas are owned by women. And so this is very important to the state of Arkansas, and it's part of the mission of Startup Junkie to empower women to own businesses, minorities, people who have low income backgrounds, and to help them get their business off the ground in whatever way or plan that we can. There's also, you're going to, as I said before, you're going to get a copy of all of these slides. So you don't need to be writing everything down. One thing is you can, when you get the slides, you could go do the research and pull up this article I wrote for the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal a couple of years ago about why it's important to honor and have special programs for women, for minorities, to help us give all of ourselves a chance to catch up from the years of systemic discrimination that occurred very unfortunately in this country. And so we're powering forward and making sure there are special programs for women, for Black-owned businesses, for Hispanic and Latino and Latina businesses, and for those who have incarceration records in the past. We want all those people to be empowered. These are some local assistance resources. The Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center in Fayetteville, also partially funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration, area chambers of commerce. If you have a business that could possibly get a contract with the city for landscaping, or the county to sell food in the county jail, or to do embroidery shirts at a university, we have a contact with the Arkansas Procurement and Technical Assistance Center in Bentonville that we'll connect you to. There's the Food Innovation Center at the U of A, and there is a Women's Business Center in South Arkansas that we could connect you to. These are some local Northwest Arkansas women's groups. WIN meets monthly in Rogers. There's one called Woman Run that is run, it's duo Northwest Arkansas and Little Rock. And there's a Facebook page you can join to see when they're going to have meetups. All of these are normally in person, and some of them are transitioning back to that now. Siloam Springs has a women in business group, and they meet sometimes monthly and sometimes quarterly and have events. Conexión de Negocio Latinos is a wonderful group in Springdale run by a Hispanic woman, Irma, who is very supportive of women in business, and especially Latina and Hispanic women. And then there are national groups. And so you'll get copies of these slides. You could do some of that research to check on that. Most small businesses start out at the beginning with the source being your savings. I'm going to tell you right now that there's no such thing as a grant from the government or from a foundation to start a brand new business for profit. Grants are for nonprofits. That means businesses that are set up and they have a special classification from the IRS called 501c3, and their business is for the community. At the end of the year, if there's extra money left over after the director's been paid and the workers and all the work done, giving away bicycles or feeding the homeless, the money stays in the business. A for-profit business is I start the business, and at the end of the year, there's extra money after I've paid myself, I've paid my bills, I've paid my rent on my business building, and then I can take that money out. I can distribute it to myself, or I could raise my salary. That's a for-profit business. So grants go to community service businesses. Now, in 2020, for the first time ever, we saw lots of grants for for-profit businesses, but that was for existing businesses. And that is a very special thing that we hope never occurs again. It's still ongoing. There are still different kinds of loans out there, special ones that can be forgiven. So like with the PPP, it was a loan, but then if you used it like you were supposed to, it could be forgiven, and the bank was reimbursed from the U.S. Small Business Administration. And so it almost kind of looked like a grant, right? But don't expect to start a business brand new and not have to spend any money. Don't expect to increase a business or open a second location without having to have some new cash infusion from you. Banks don't 100% fund any project, especially a startup. Friends and family. Sometimes people get loans from their friends and family. I will always advise you to go to an attorney and get a legal note written up, because we never know if someone might die, if they might get divorced or get mad at us, right? So we want to have things done legitimately, but it is very common for people to start businesses with loans from friends and family. Sometimes you can lease equipment, and it's easier and faster if you just need a lawnmower to get your small business started doing a lawn care service. Bank financing, we're going to talk today. There are those that have these government-backed SBA guarantees that make the banks more likely to make the loan, but the banks still make the decision. Then there's a bucket of loans where the bank just makes its own decision in-house and doesn't involve the government in guaranteeing it. Then we're going to talk about some alternative financing options, such as credit cards and online lenders. One of the main thing is, do not get excited and assume you can get a loan and you can open your business before you've done a full business plan and you've run the numbers and you know how much money you have and how much money you need and it's secure. Don't sign a lease. Don't order goods from a company, because once you sign on that dotted line, you are stuck. You don't get to go back to the leasing place and say, oh gosh, I thought I was going to get a loan and now I didn't, so I can't pay that lease. They'll be like, well, we're going to send you a bill for $850 a month for the next 5 years, and you're going to pay it or we're going to sue you. So check out and investigate all these funding options and be sure that you actually are ready before you sign anything. Once again, here with the friends and family one, it's very advisable, if you're going to do that, to have a formal note. We have a list of small business attorneys, small business accountants, insurance agents, marketing companies at Startup Junkie. We're happy to share with anyone in Northwest Arkansas. The benefit of this is it's easier and faster, but also it's dealing with friends and family. And if the loan fails, you're going to be responsible for those personal issues. So take care of that. Savings, there is a way to take money from your 401k. There is one that's called the ROB, the rollovers from 401k as a business startup to not have penalties. We are not going to give you very much advice on that at all from Startup Junkie, because that is legal and very specific financial information. We will help you find someone. If you do this from your 401k, you need to work with a company, an attorney, and at minimum a CPA who know the tax implications of this, because whenever you're going to tell the IRS, I don't owe you a penalty, I don't owe you taxes on this, you better be sure it was done right. So certainly do not attempt that yourself, but yes, it is an option. And so we can help connect you to individuals that help people with these ROB rollovers, or your financial advisor taking money from your regular 401k. Leasing is a separate deal. You can lease the lawnmower directly from the lawnmower company, so it can be a little bit faster. Sometimes those have a little bit higher interest rates. Sometimes they're lower. It depends on what kind of equipment it is. So many companies, if you just need a car for your business, it might be easier and faster to go directly to the manufacturer of the equipment and then just lease it, so that you're not stuck with a big debt and you're just going to use it, especially if it's equipment that wears out over time very quickly and not something long range. You may not even need any money down. You can just sign the lease for the truck or for the certain type of equipment that you need to manufacture leather purses or whatever it is you're going to make. We can help guide you to some local companies that do that, or the best thing is go directly to the manufacturer of the equipment that you're wanting to purchase and ask them about leasing it instead of buying it. Factoring companies is a special type of way to fund a business. It's typically mostly used with like trucking companies pretty often, sometimes tech companies. So it's for people that have set contracts and they know they're going to provide services. There's a written contract. They're going to get paid a big bunch of money in 6 months, but they need the money now. So we have factoring companies in the region, in the state, that you can connect to, and they'll pay you 50% of that contract. They then take it over with the company that you contracted with, and the payments go to them. So it can be a little complicated, and it's not that common. It's mostly, like I said, that I know of with trucking companies and technology companies that are putting systems in. Online lenders, you will see a lot of them. Cabbage, Prosper, Street Shares. They're typically pretty quick. You can fill it out online. You get your money. Everything works out well in that way because it's so fast. But I do caution you, those can be very, very high interest. They'll say things like 3% fee, but you need to read it very closely because that's 3% a day. That calculates out to 24 to 27%. Also, look at the third bullet point, short term. You borrow $50,000 and you only have 12 months to pay it back. That is a monster monthly payment. So yes, they exist. I'm always going to dissuade people away from borrowing money where there's not a human in an office to go talk to someone, but they do exist. Credit cards. I know people who have started small businesses with credit cards, and Lance will talk to you about, you can actually, if you started a business with a credit card and you've kept good documents showing you only use that credit card for the business, and you have records for that, that you can sometimes have that high interest credit card debt refinanced. Crowdfunding. This is where people go online on websites, on platforms like Kickstarter or GoFundMe, and they get donations to start their business. Kickstarter, if you go on there, we have a very famous company in Northwest Arkansas that Startup Junkie has worked with called Leasing. It's an outdoor pant company, and he has gone back to Kickstarter over and over and told people, if you donate $150 to me, I'll send you my newest pair of pants. And then that gives me the funds to go to China and manufacture this new run of the pants. And he's done very well with that. But he has been doing this for a while. And so he is using that as his funding source. On Kickstarter and GoFundMe, those are for-profit companies, and they get 30 cents or 50 cents plus fees every time somebody donates to you. So you're never going to get that full $10 that your cousin down the street donated to you for whatever you're fundraising for. You'll only get a portion of that. They also don't offer a lot of online support. I am the Northwest Arkansas Kiva Microlender Director for Northwest Arkansas, and that is a nonprofit entity that provides very small microloans from $1,000 to $15,000, mostly for existing businesses. We'll get the larger amount. Around $2,000 to $3,000 is kind of the sweet spot for the Kiva startup loans. And with Kiva, that is a nonprofit, and so the loans are 0%. The Kiva Corporation out of California that I help you to apply to and work with, they administer the repayments from the people all over the world who lend to you. And then they take your payment every month via PayPal if you get approved for a loan, and they pay all those lenders back in their Kiva accounts. It's online, you have to have a profile, but the Walton Family Foundation, if you get approved, matches every time someone loans to you on Kiva. And so that's one that you could reach out to me about if you're interested in a Kiva loan. There are a lot of restrictions with Kiva, such as you can't be in bankruptcy, but it doesn't matter if you had a bankruptcy. There's no credit score minimum for it, which most banks have credit score minimums. So its target consumer are disadvantaged borrowers, women, minorities, but it is public, and you have to have some social channels, and you have to have your business basics set up to go. So it's not ideal for startups, but it is helpful in some ways with the smaller loans. So with the bank loans, we have two types. We have principal and interest loans where you go, you fill out a business plan, you've got some projections, you know how much you need to expand your existing business. Maybe you need money to finally get your business set up as an LLC. You've been doing it out of your house as a DBA, but you need to get it set up as an LLC. So you've got some attorney fees. You need to build a website, and you want to go rent a storage building to start storing more materials because you're selling more and more online. So you can get all those numbers together, and you can approach a bank for an in-house loan. But if you're a startup business and you don't have a lot of collateral, like equity in your house or some business equipment that's paid for to put up as the collateral, then the banks are going to be worried that you can make that monthly payment. And so they may transition you to this SBA loan program that gives them a guarantee we're going to talk about. But the two options are going to be, this is how much I need to open my store, or this is how much I need to expand my business, and I want a set payment each month for 5 to 10 years. It's better to have the principal and interest loan at a set term, and the longer out it goes, the lower your monthly payment. And we're going to talk about the loans where there's no prepayment penalty if you pay it off early, so you could do that later. The second type is more for existing businesses. If your business has been doing well, you're running it debt-free, but sometimes you want to buy some extra product, or sometimes things get slow in certain months. Like if you're a food truck or a restaurant, maybe it gets slow in January and February. You can go to a bank and fill out an application and have a line of credit that just kind of hangs out there. It's an open line, it's $10,000. And once you've been approved, you have to go through the whole process, just like with a loan. Then you can email your loan officer and say, hey, could you just drop $3,000 in my business bank account at your bank? I need that to get me through this month to pay workers. I know the food truck's going to pick up in March when spring comes. Or you could say, hey, I've got an opportunity. I found out somebody is shutting down their food truck and I can go buy a piece of equipment. Can you drop $2,000 in my line for me? And when they do that, you can then just pay interest only and then pay that line off in chunks as you want to in the future. That's a pretty risky type loan. So those are going to have higher interest rates, and the bank's going to expect you to have it fully paid off within a year or 2 years, whatever the length of the line of the credit is. So we've got principal and interest loans, set amount for a set project every month, same amount, or it may fluctuate if you have a revolving interest rate that goes up or down with the APR and the federal prime rate. Or you may have a line of credit, which you just pay interest only on, but then you're going to have to be sure and have it paid off by a certain date. So those are the two types of loans. And so now I'm going to let Lance talk to you about these SBA loans. And remember, the SBA is the federal government. It's a corporation set up by the federal government, but its program is administered through banks. So just like a veteran would go to a bank to find out about getting a VA home loan where they can do 0% interest down, you will go to a banker to talk about getting an SBA loan. So Lance, you just tell me when you need me to advance the slides.
Okay. So the SBA loan program's been around longer than I have. It started in 1953, and the intent of SBA is to provide financing to businesses who may have difficulty getting financing directly with the bank. And they do that by providing a guarantee on a loan. The bank makes the loan and the SBA guarantees it. You know, there's mention of preferred lenders, the PLP loan program. There are some banks that have experience with SBA lending and they're a preferred lender. The banks that are not preferred lenders actually have to review and approve your application and then submit to SBA for approval. A preferred lender, which Bank OZK is one of those, we can review and approve a loan, and we do not have to submit that loan to SBA for approval. The guarantee amounts are typically 50 to 85%, but with the pandemic we've been through, there have been some changes. Between now and September 30th, the typical guarantee on an SBA loan is 90%, which gives banks even more incentive to provide the financing that you need. There also is an SBA loan program called SBA Express, which had a 50% guarantee until this most recent legislation. It now has a 75% guarantee. So your typical guarantee percentages, at least through September 30th, is 75 to 90%, which again, that gives a bank great incentive to help you with your financing. The other thing the recent legislation provides is for any SBA loan that is done between February the 1st, which is already passed, and September the 30th of this year, each of those loans, once they're fully funded, will get 3 months worth of CARES Act payments, which means if you, say you borrow $50,000 to buy some equipment through an SBA loan, SBA will make your first 3 payments for you. So that also is a great incentive that's new just for this year with SBA loans. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Martha.
We already talked about Express, yes?
Yeah, SBA Express lending is for loans under $350,000. It currently has a 75% guarantee. We can do revolving lines of credit with SBA Express. Those are like Martha talked about. Maybe you need inventory, maybe you need to add employees, and you need a flexible loan that allows you to draw and pay it back. But you can do a line of credit through the SBA Express program. The way they're typically set up, they can go up to 10 years, and now SBA requires you can have, let's say you did a 10-year SBA Express revolving line of credit, The first 5 years, it would be a interest-only payment draw period, and then the following 5 years would be principal and interest payments on whatever the remaining balance would be. The great thing about the SBA Express loan is it's a little bit less paperwork and a little quicker process in getting an approval on your SBA loan. Let's go ahead and go. There is the Veterans Advantage program that's on SBA Express loans only. There is no guarantee fee on SBA Express loans to veterans. But let me share with you, you do not have to be a veteran. Right now, with the pandemic and current legislation, there are no SBA guarantee fees on any SBA loans that are made through September 30th of this year. Normally, the guarantee fee is 3% of the guaranteed portion of the loan. And like I said, with the current legislation that it was passed earlier this year, there is no guarantee fee on any SBA loans through September the 30th. The basic requirements is you have to be a small business. I'm sure everyone on this call qualifies. In Northwest Arkansas, as an example, Walmart wouldn't qualify, nor would Tyson, but a majority of businesses in Northwest Arkansas would in fact qualify. We do expect you to have a certain amount of equity in your project. The typical amount on an SBA deal is 10% of the project. So if you have a total project size of $200,000, we would expect you to put $20,000 in and would be able to loan $180,000. So 10% equity is typical on SBA loans. Now there's some industries where a bank may require a little more equity than the SBA minimum 10%. SBA also asks that we meet what's called a credit elsewhere test. We have to prove that you don't have the ability to get the funding from other resources. Typically that would be personal bank accounts, personal assets that you could liquidate. Typically it's fairly easy for us to be able to prove credit elsewhere. The loan funds have to be used for business purposes. We have to document. If you propose to buy a piece of equipment, we have to get a bid on that piece of equipment, and when we provide funding to you, we have to have an invoice that is marked paid. So it has to be used for business purposes. You need to be a U.S. citizen or a LPR in order to qualify for an SBA loan. Hang on one second. My screen just froze on me. You cannot be convicted of a felon, although Martha, I about fell out of my seat when this happened on PPP loans, which many of you have probably heard of, Paycheck Protection Program loans. Congress just passed on PPP loans, you can have a felony as long as you're not in jail at this time or not currently convicted and still get a PPP loan. But that does not flow over to the regular SBA loan program. SBA loans do require personal guarantees, and on collateral, an SBA loan does not have to be fully secured like a bank loan does. SBA's collateral rules state that a loan should not be turned down because it's not fully secured with collateral, but that we must take all available collateral. So if your loan is not fully secured, we might take a second mortgage on your personal residence or other assets that you might have. You can have defaulted on federal debt, although again, Martha, I hate to keep saying this, I almost fell out of my chair again. On PPP loans, Congress just passed that you could default on student debt and still get a PPP loan, but on the regular SBA loan program, you cannot have a federal government loan default and qualify for an SBA loan.
And do remember, y'all, that the PPP loans are only for businesses that were in existence January 1st of 2020. So those won't be available. New start.
It's actually February 15th. Mark.
Oh, February. I'm sorry. Okay.
February 15th of 2020. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide.
Okay.
Size standards, again, most retail businesses can have up to $7 million in revenue. Wholesale businesses can have up to 100 employees. Manufacturing businesses can have up to 500 employees. So I'm sure most of you would in fact qualify as a small business. SBA loan proceeds can be used for buying land that's going to be used for a business. Can be used for things like parking lots, sidewalks, curb and guttering, landscaping. It can be used to buy equipment, inventory, supplies. Most importantly, it can be used to provide working capital with the SBA Express loan. We can do a pure working capital loan for a small business. It can be used for energy conservation. And a very important thing that Martha talked about, a lot of small businesses get started with credit cards, Cabbage, Vine, and other online lending sources. If you're an existing business and have good cash flow and you have debt that's not on reasonable terms, meaning it's on high interest rates or has a short payback, we can actually refinance that debt with an SBA loan and put it on better terms with the lower interest rate. Again, there's SBA 7A loans. 504 loans are typically used for real estate. The SBA 504 loan program is incredibly tight right now because a 504 loan is a real estate project. The bank does 50% of the loan. The SBA does 40% of the loan on a debenture issue. And you put 10% of the money in as an equity injection. Those debenture issues, that 40% part of the project, currently have a 25-year fixed rate of about 2.75%. So if you have a real estate project, which I'm looking at several in Northwest Arkansas right now, you can get an incredible blended interest rate through the SBA 504 loan program. SBA can help you with government contracting. They have small business development centers. Martha and I both have experience with SBDCs. There's an excellent one at the University of Arkansas. I think their phone number is 575-5148. I could have the wrong number, but I don't know if it's changed, but there's a great SBDC. They can help with business planning and cash flow projections, which we need as part of your loan package. There's SCORE program that provides mentors for small business, women's business centers. There's one in Pine Bluff, I think, export centers, veteran business outreach centers, and they do disaster lending, which many of you have probably heard of EIDL loans. During the pandemic, that is an example. It's an economic injury disaster loan, but SBA does disaster loans for disaster events like hurricanes and tornadoes, but also economic disasters like the pandemic through the EIDL program.
Yeah, and do understand the difference. So those, like the disaster loans, those are loans where you deal directly with the SBA. Everything else, getting a business plan together and getting a loan to open a business or to expand one, or the PPP, those go through the banks. So you deal with a local community banker like Lance. They tell you what they need. If you're going to have cash infusion, which with the PPPs, no, the PPPs are very special, brand new creatures that we never saw before until last year. And so they're very special loans to help people through the crisis. But a traditional SBA loan, you go to the bank that does SBA loans, which we have a list of all those banks in Northwest Arkansas. Bank OZK is one of them, which is why they're interested in sponsoring this series, to let you know they like to do small business loans. Then the bank decides if you have the proper experience, if you have the proper credit, if you have enough cash infusion into the business, and which of these loan packages is right for you, and then they make you the offer. And if you come to the agreement with the bank and provide them all that they require, the bank deals with the SBA and gets the guarantee it needs, either automatically as a preferred lender or maybe sends off to the SBA. So the disaster.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just want to encourage everybody, if you are an existing business and you've experienced economic hardship during the pandemic, the EIDL program is currently open at SBA, and you can go to SBA.gov if you have interest in applying. If you had interest in a PPP loan, you're going to go to your local bank and apply for a PPP loan.
Right. And the EIDL loans have to be paid back. They're actual loans. The PPP through the bank are the ones that maybe can be forgiven if you follow all the steps that your banker advises you to follow.
Exactly.
And I can talk about this part. Yeah, Lance. So Lance is, like I said, an SBA lender directly, and he works at a bank, but we also have other little SBA programs that are micro lenders. So these are loans under $50,000, often around $10,000 or $20,000. And so we have Forge, which is out in Huntsville, and then we have Communities Unlimited in Fayetteville. And so they don't require as high a credit score, sometimes not as much documentation, but they do have some of the limitations, such as you have to be a U.S. citizen. Typically, you can't have defaulted on a student loan or defaulted on a VA home loan, etc. So those are micro lenders that are also in our area. Lance talked to you about SBA.gov, and there is that website for it. And it is just a plethora of information. If you're interested in starting a business or growing one, or want to read more about each of these different loans and understand them, it's a great place to go. You're going to get a copy of these slides. Caleb's going to send everybody an email tomorrow who attended all day today with the slides from the starting a business one this morning, and then both of the slides from the Bank OZK from Trish about their checking account and business payments services. And it's going to have this information for like SCORE in Northwest Arkansas. Now they're volunteers, so they're just volunteers who offer to give some one-on-one advice. Then here is the contact information for the Small Business Center that Lance talked about. So they do different, they have a much larger staff than we do at Startup Junkie. So we will send people to them because they have access to some very expensive market research that you can get to show like how many Mexican restaurants in Fayetteville, where they're at, what their average gross receipts were, what their average per plate price was, information on neighborhoods and traffic counts to help you decide where to put a store. And they also have enough staff there that I will get you ready and tell you all the startup costs you need to get together, all the estimates of income, all the estimates of expenses, and then they have staff that will actually put those in spreadsheets for you to send to somebody like Lance for your loan application. All right, so in-house banks are also available. Lance, do you want to talk about this slide and give them a difference when you might send someone to an in-house loan instead of an SBA loan?
Well, I think that typically on small business loans, if you have somebody that has plenty of collateral and plenty of capital, and an SBA loan doesn't necessarily fit, we'll refer them to a regular commercial lender. They can also do types of lending that we can't. You know, it mentions investment properties. You can't do investment properties with an SBA loan, so it would be a regular commercial loan. The local banks, you know, there's less documentation required, but the loans typically will not have the length of maturity or term that an SBA loan will have. The interest rates, I would say that sometimes the interest rates, depending on your credit score and your collateral, could be lower than an SBA loan, but they're typically going to be similar. They're typically going to have a shorter term. When you look at this sheet, SBA loan for working capital, we can go up to 10 years. Usually a straight bank loan will be 3 years or less. For equipment, an SBA loan can do 10 years. Typical bank loan is 2 years or 2 to 5 years. Commercial real estate, SBA can be a 25-year maturity, where a regular commercial loan is going to be typically 15 to 20 years. mixed purpose, if you've got different types, say you have real estate and equipment, SBA will use a blended rate. Typically, a bank will use a blended rate, but it'll be a shorter term. Working capital loans, typically an SBA loan can be 3 to 5 years. A bank loan is going to be 1 or 2 years. On an SBA Express loan, those maturities are the same based on what you use the money for, but a line of credit with the bank typically will be a 1-year deal that renews every year, and there's cost associated with renewing it every year. With SBA, it can be up to a 10-year term on a line of credit.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that's what the point of the line of credit is. It's just kind of your backup to use when you have a special opportunity pop up to buy something inexpensively, or something bad happens and you just need some money to get you through for a couple months. It's not to be planned for the future of the business or to start the business with the line of credit. So typically what I talk to people about, and Lance does, if we're doing a loan to buy equipment, to do build out, to start a store, to buy furniture, to buy the first few months of inventory to sell, that's the like 7A loan, the principal and interest set loan for maybe up to 10 years. So you got that longer payment. But then we're going to advise the business, if they qualify, to get a little like $10,000 or $20,000 line of credit, to just have that there to hang out, to have in case of emergency. But you're going to have to renew it every year or maybe 2 or 3, depending on the newness of your business. And there's going to be several $100s worth of costs for the bank to do all the new paperwork and renew it. And if it comes up for renewal and you've run it up and haven't paid it down, you've just been paying interest, there's a chance the bank will take it away from you and roll it into a principal and interest payment only. So those are different types of loans, just to get you educated about those different types. Okay, and so my contact info will be at the end of this. Also, I'll send you Lance's and Audwin Vaughn. And I'm going to look, I can't see the questions until I stop sharing. So I'm going to look in the chat real quick and see. Let's see. Christina asked about saying, and Christina, there's no such thing as a silly question. She said, how do we know how much money is needed to start our business? And this is where you need to put a business plan together. So do reach out to us at Startup Junkie or to the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center, and you can email me and I can send you their contact. You're going to put all your startup costs together, and you're going to figure out how, you need to be planning in advance with this business plan. Here's what I can do, or here's what I can sell, and here's how much I think that I'm going to need. And so you're going to have to do that street work. If it's to open a store, you're going to have to go scout out sites and see how much the rent is. We've got a list of insurance companies. You can approach them locally and see how much insurance is going to be. You're going to have to contact the vendors that you want to buy the goods from and see what that's going to cost for the first few months. So every business, it's different. And that's why it's very individual. Some people, if you already own a sewing machine and you want to start doing alterations, and there's a local store that says, hey, we'll send you about $600 worth of work a month, boom, you already kind of know what you're going to be doing. And so maybe you just need money to build a website, hire an attorney to set up an LLC. So every business is different. And that's what putting together the business plan does. And sometimes people start out saying, I want to open a clothing store. And then after I meet with them and we assess their financial situation, maybe they can't afford to do that right now. But we can come up with some ideas for you to make the clothes and get a spot at the Fayetteville Farmers Market, or start making the clothes and setting up a website and selling online. And so every good business that I've ever seen starts out very small. Most people are never in a position to wake up one day and go open a clothing store in a strip mall in Uptown in Fayetteville, which is going to cost probably about $250,000 to $300,000 to get that store launched and all the stuff bought and everything going and employees. So that's a rare condition. So what I like to do is work with people as soon as you think you might want to start a business in a year or two. Let's start planning. Let's start figuring out, do we need to get your credit score up? Do you need to save money? Do you already have some equity in your home you could borrow against? So every business is different, and that's what's so important about putting together that business plan. So if you reach out to us, we can help you get started with that, and we can send you to the Small Business and Technology Development Center. Their office is at the corner of Dixon Street and Walk, and you can book an appointment with them too. And all these services are free of charge. And thank you, Hope, for your kind comment. Always supportive of wonderful women business owners like you. Someone asked me about nonprofits and historical buildings in Fayetteville, how to get them renovated. So, no, Startup Junkie, we do not work with nonprofits. All of our funders are for us to help for-profit businesses. You can contact SCORE of Northwest Arkansas, and SCORE stands for Society of Retired Business Executives. Everybody just calls it SCORE. You can type in SCORE Northwest Arkansas and go to their website. They do have some volunteers that work with nonprofits. Starting a nonprofit can be very expensive because you have to have a board of directors, you have to apply to the IRS for specific status, and you have to have all that set up, and then you're going to have to find your grant partners to get you started with funding for a nonprofit. And you're going to have to get very educated on the legal and tax ramifications of running a nonprofit. And then someone said about renovating historical buildings. I don't have any specific information on that. Typically in Northwest Arkansas, you work with you can contact the Arkansas Main Street Association, but you have to, that's a very specific program, and you could check with Main Street Arkansas if there's a historic building you're interested in renovating, but they're not going to give you the funds to buy that building. So you're going to have to get a loan from a bank and buy the building. You would probably want to investigate initially what the process is with them to get it renovated. So you could check with Main Street Arkansas about qualifying for those programs, but they don't give you a loan because you just want to buy a building and fix it up. And you have to be an owner first, and then you can go through their programs to do that through Main Street Arkansas. So anyway, the last thing we're going to do is, Caleb, we have our last gift card we're going to give away today due to the sponsorship of Bank OZK. Normally we have these in person, and Bank OZK provides drinks and snacks and food for us. And so since we can't meet in person, we've been giving away a $40 gift card each hour today. And the one today will go to from Florence and Flint Cookie Company, which is Morgan Troxel. I helped her last year get her business launched. And so whoever Caleb tells me is the local winner, I'm going to email you and connect you with Morgan, and then you can pick out $40 worth of her fabulous Florence and Flint cookies. So who's our winner, Caleb?
All right, I put the names in a randomizer, and we came up with, let me see, we got Wendy Cathy.
Wendy Cathy, okay. And you've got Wendy's email address?
I sure do.
Great. Okay, well, hi, Wendy, and I will email you in a little bit how to get in touch with Morgan, and she is wonderful, and you can work out the details with her. She will have your name also, and she's already very well aware of this, and she'll figure out a way to get you your cookies, and then it's the $40 to include the shipping charges. So you will have some cookies that you love from our wonderful woman-owned business, Florence and Flint. So anyway, I don't see any more questions. So this is just to kind of give you an idea about all the options that are out there, some warnings about them, a way to plan for the future. I work with people all the time planning in advance to get themselves ready to approach a bank for an SBA-backed loan or an in-house loan, depending on their financial condition. But you can book a meeting with us here at Startup Junkie Foundation anytime. Just go to that startupjunkie.org and click on Meet with Us, and one of our team members will help give you a plan and give you a way to launch or to plan the future of your small business. And so Caleb will send everybody an email tomorrow with these recordings and the slides. And I think, is Lance still there? Lance, thank you.
Yeah, I'm here, but I've got to drop off and head to my next meeting.
Okay, well, we appreciate you, Lance and Bank OZK, so much. So,
well, it was great.
Yeah, we appreciate the information so much. And Lance is the pro, and he'll talk to anybody at any level to help. He'll also help give you a plan. He'll tell you honestly if, you know, your credit score is not high enough, or you're going to have to, you know, you put all those numbers together and it comes up that you need $75,000 and you don't have $7,500 cash yet to be your part to inject in the business. And remember, when he talks about that equity injection, it doesn't mean you give that to the bank. You first spend 10% of what's needed to start the business on the business. So you would buy $7,500 worth of equipment after your loan is approved, and then the bank funds the rest of that. And an important point here is, as you're progressing with your business, if you're starting out of your house, keep proof, invoices and canceled checks of every bit of major money, anything over $100 for sure. You need to keep documented. If you bought a sewing machine for $2,000 with your personal money 2 years ago, keep that canceled personal check to the sewing company, keep that invoice. That can be presented to a bank in the future to show, hey, I've already spent $2,000. As you progress and create an LLC, then you might do a bill of sale from you to the LLC. So that's a business asset, and you've already got that $2,000. And so the bank, based upon the value of that sewing machine, might consider that. So keep track of what you spend. Even if you're just operating as a DBA, you should go to a bank and set up a DBA business account and only put income in there from the business and only pay expenses out. That's a great way to get used to tracking. And then it's also going to help you when you get ready to set up your tax return. And at minimum, file a Schedule C in your personal reporting business income and expenses. So I don't see any other questions. Well, let me see. Oh, here's some more, some thank yous. Thank you, Christina, and congrats on your gift card. Thank you all for the kind thank yous. And we are just so committed here in Northwest Arkansas to helping small business owners. And please reach out to our Startup Junkie team. We'd love to assist you. No conversation is too small or short, and no conversation too big. Okay? So thank you, everyone. Caleb, you want to sign us off?
Will do. Everybody have a great day or a great evening.
Thank you.
Great evening. Thank you all for attending.